Football Manager is one of the most famous football games. The fact you can manage almost any team in the world, have almost infinite amount of data, and play it in an actually realistic way, or any way you please, is what makes this game great. But no game is perfect, and this is why I've decided to make this video, in which we'll talk about some of the suggestions and changes we would like to see in the future editions. Most of these changes are not the groundbreaking ones, that would change the entire FM landscape, but they're rather small tweaks, that would massively improve the experience. Some of them are as small as adding a single if into the code. Though I have no knowledge of FM's code, and I just about know the basics of programming. But now, let's dive in. We'll start with a very simple counter. This counter. Whenever someone scores a goal, you can notice how many times a player has scored this season, but it's not really accurate. Okay, it counts the goals accurately, but it does not show us how many of them were scored by this player in this competition this season. It just shows the amount of goals in all competitions. And you probably know where I'm going with it. I just want to see how many goals a player has scored in this season in the competition we're playing in right now. This information is not being displayed on friendlies, so some work has been done in this direction already. We'll stay on the topic of goal notifications. If you ever played FIFA, you have witnessed plenty of animations, transitions, all those little details. This is not something typical for Football Manager, but there is something that is actually missing. In Europe, when a goal is scored, the information just pops up. No transition, no animation. This is something that already exists in Football Manager in a default goal animation, so it would be cool to see the same in Europe. Now the next change will literally take a single second. You subscribing to this channel. A very small percentage of you do so, and it's time to bump this number up. And the actual suggestion is fairly simple. In Football Manager, you can play in almost any league you want, from the Premier League all the way to the League of Fiji, as long as you download the mods. But for the vanilla version, the options, especially outside of Europe, are pretty limited. For example, Africa as a continent only has one league available. There are plenty of leagues that could be added into the default version, especially to provide better experience for those on the console. I'm suggesting places such as Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt and Nigeria in Africa, Bosnia and Georgia in Europe, Honduras and Costa Rica in North America, UAE and Qatar in Asia, or most importantly, Saudi Arabia. More leagues and more places to play in are always a good addition. The next change is about the tactics. Ever struggled to move the player's position? You wanted to go from 2 strikers to 1, and turns out you have to try moving your people 7 times before it finally works? Yes, that's something to look at. We already had the tactics screen being much more responsive in older FMs, though I have not played any older games than FM20, so I'm using Zealand's video as footage. We're going back to players themselves now, or to be exact, their profiles. If you look at the player's stats throughout his career, what you can notice is that it only shows the stats from the domestic leagues, and you have to click on a specific season to see how many goals, assists and whatnot a player has made in, say, the Champions League. I want to simplify it quite a bit. Just add a drop down with the main option being all competitions, and every single competition a player has played in will be an option in that drop down. Now here's a what if rather than a proper suggestion. What if we raised the range of current and potential ability of players and stuff to 1000, with the attributes going up from 20 to 100? This suggestion is mainly in favor of people managing in lower leagues, like tier 20 of England. You can often see posts where people just walk through the leagues all the way to the Premier League, and this change would make the process a little bit more challenging. The next suggestion will be very short. Please fix the abomination of the Silesian Stadium. Just like I said it while managing Kruchorzew in the Ultimate Glory Hunter Challenge. It looks nowhere near like this. We'll stay on the topic of stadiums though. In my time playing this game, I have never seen a running track around the stadium. Like, never. Maybe someone did, but I did not. So I'm adding this as a suggestion. I want to see stadiums that have those running tracks. Whether they're in blue, like in the Silesian Stadium in Chorzów, or red, like in every second stadium in Slovakia. That feature would be pretty much only decorative, but would definitely add something to FM's environment. And we're staying on the topic of stadiums. We're going to the stands this time. This is something that could be done for clubs already licensed in Vanilla Football Manager. The idea is to let fans on the stands actually sing. Now, you walk into the stadium at the start of the game, and you just hear a noise. But what if we started with an anthem or a chant instead? That would add so much atmosphere to this game. For the next change, we have to move into our social media feed. I heard that there won't be one in the next edition, but you never know with FM25 being entirely cancelled. So, I will say it anyway. On the list of subjects and people to follow, faces of newgens are not being displayed correctly, showing a default non-photo face instead. This is a small bug, but definitely worthy of fixing. Another change is about a special match you can host. You can host a testimonial friendly in Football Manager, but only if a player you're hosting this game for has played for the same club for over 10 years straight, and I want to change it a little. I would really like an option of hosting a farewell game for a retiring or leaving player, whether it's rearranging a competitive match as one or hosting a separate friendly. It would be a normal game, but after a match or whenever the player will walk off the pitch, he will be given a guard of honor by both teams. We already have this animation in the game, so it's possible to recreate it the other way around. This would only be possible if the selected player is a favorite person, icon, or a legend of the team. There is one group of people that does not get the recognition it could and potentially should in the game. We're talking about the board members. The only thing we can see about them is their names, faces, and their nationality. That's all. I understand some hidden attributes cannot really be shown during the game, but I think it's a good time to introduce the board members' profiles. I'm talking chairman, managing directors, and owners. I actually want to see this man's age, origin story, position, history, traits on a separate page. But with the agents, it's a bit of another story. They do have their own profile pages, which I don't think need many changes. But throughout all my time playing FM, I've only seen one agent ever, Rafaela Pimenta, who negotiated my deal with Erling Haaland at Monaco. There are a couple more agents, but literally a couple, and you can't even find them in the pregame editor. So, the idea is very simple, to introduce more of them into the game. Now, it's time to move into the interactions. Basically, play the clip. Midfielder. Dear Miles Jacobson, where is the I brought in Kajan to play in a different role than Tischler thing? In this scenario, it's about a very simple promise. Just never put a new player in a position and a role your current player fears he will be replaced in. Similar to a promise at contract negotiations, when a player wants to be selected in a specific role. Basically, I would like to see the interactions offer a little bit more options and logic. I have already said that Dear Miles Jacobson line throughout my videos a couple of times, and I really don't want to say it anymore. Also, this was a Build the Nation series with SFC Opava in Czechia. You can watch the full movie on the top right, but only after you finish watching this one. The next suggestion will be for those who play journeyman careers. You start from the worst attribute set possible and with no badges. You go from nothing to the Club World Cup win, and turns out some of your attributes such as fitness or adaptability have barely risen or even not at all. But turns out, I'm an absolute expert in attacking or defending. The suggestion here is to let the other attributes grow in the future as well. You managed many countries and learned many languages? Let the adaptability grow. That's just an example. Another overlooked aspect of the game is the referees. In our Ultimate Glory Hunter challenge, I'm in the year 2037, and there are 0 new referees, and more matches are being refereed by this man called the minus sign. A system of creating and generating new players and stuff is already here, and works very well, so why not do the same for the refs? I know there are plenty more things, big and small, that SI could add for future editions of Football Manager. What are some other improvements, big or small, that you would like to see in the game? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you also want to start a new save. A save where you don't have to stick to a single club. For inspiration, check out my Ultimate Glory Hunter challenge, where I try to win as many European leagues as possible. The first video of the series is available on your screen right now.